Traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. Let's get this party started right now. It's 4:30 in the morning, my time. No better time to party than at 4:30 in the morning, my time. That's right. Okay, let's go over to the euro dollar. You know, I got a comment really quick that Witt said, wouldn't that when in a fall in the stock market wouldn't have pulled down the dollar? Remember, let's not forget the fact that the dollar is the reserve currency of choice in the world. It was to be rivaled by the euro. The euro over the last 3 years have proved that it is not a replacement for the dollar. As crises in Greece and in Spain and in Portugal flare up, institutions, larger banks, they don't want to hold, and governments, they don't want to hold the euro as a replacement for the US dollar. Not under current circumstances. Maybe in the future, but not right now. So when the shit hits the fan, people will turn around and end up buying dollars for safety. So if the equity markets end up rolling over, but you have to, in my opinion, the market has to be concerned that there is going to be a material correction. If there is a material correction, the dollar will come back into demand. Right now, I don't think anybody is really too concerned about the equity markets. I mean, I think it's eventually going to roll over, but if you look at equities right now, it's not like oh my God, we're an imminent threat of having a 10% correction. As soon as the market feels like that, that's when the dollar will come in demand, in my opinion. Okay, let's go over to the euro dollar. So I just wanted to clarify that point. So the euro, we did a little bit analysis yesterday afternoon, and I kind of deleted some of our drawings here just to illustrate like a place that I think would be a good place to be long the euro is if we got down there. We didn't dip all the way down to 108.30, but that is what I feel is going to be really good support should we get down there. We're pretty far away from there right now. Obviously, this is the 4-hour chart, and we're not anywhere close. But if you go to an hourly chart, the hourly chart seems to be locked in a some sort of channel. It looks probably very similar to this, okay, which probably looks something like that. I might be able to readjust it a little bit. Something like that. It's hard to say at this moment because I don't think we're done, with our recent moves. But if you go from high to low, we're at a 38% retracement, and we've already stalled at the 38% retracement. And like I said, I shorted some at 79. I'm only up 11 pips. Okay, I plan on adding a little bit if we got up to 110, because this move right up here this is where it's gonna offer a lot of resistance, in my opinion. Okay, just around 110, maybe just a little bit above. So if we can rally up towards 110, just maybe above it, I wouldn't mind adding to my current short position in the euro. Right, but I am looking for for a move back down towards the 108 and change level over the course of the next few days. But we're pretty choppy around here, obviously, and you can see the where we stalled yesterday. Okay, we pushed stops below the 618 and bounced. We talked about yesterday about us dipping down to 108.70, 5 or 76, this 786 retracement. We didn't quite get down there. We took some stops below 109 and then bounced back up. But I look at the euro right now, and the euro is probably going to bounce around here, I would assume. Okay. So as the euro pulls back, this is where you got to watch about like the Aussie and the Kiwi. They may push into multi-year lows here if the euro pulls back down towards support. So anyway, resistance is going to be at 110. What's the low here? 110.20 range, and support today. For now, right down here, the 109.35 for today. If we get down there, should offer a little bit of support. Let's take a look at the cable. So the cable is showing some signs of weakness today as well. Let's go over to the pound. Okay, so the pound, we're at the upper end of its range. Like I got asked Eric goes, hey Blake, are you going to stay short the pound Aussie and the pound New Zealand? And I'm short very small positions, like 1/3 size of. You have to imagine, whenever I trade the pound Aussie or pound New Zealand, and everybody should be aware of this, but if you're not, I'll go ahead and reiterate. When I if I normally trade 10 lots of something on the pound New Zealand or the pound Aussie, I'm going to trade 3 or 4 lots. I trade literally 1/3 size of the pound Aussie and pound New Zealand. That would be considered a full size position for me. So when I'm trading a 1/3 size of a 1/3 size, my pound New Zealand or pound Aussie positions tend to be very, very small. And I don't mind being short the pound Aussie and pound New Zealand at current levels, small positions, because I think the pound dollar has a lot of room to move to the downside. Like the Aussie and the Kiwi, I think, are fairly limited. Like they might dip another 50 or 60 pips, from current levels. But the pound dollar, I mean, we're at the near the upper end of this range, which I actually believe that the pound dollar is probably, the lower 150s would probably be more of a neutral area for the pound. I still think it can come off quite a bit, but we are at the mid or middle of its range, if you will, between 157 and 154.50. Okay, and we're just kind of at the like mid range of it, but I still think we can come down quite a bit here. Uh, and if you look, I mean, the cable I think is down on the day. Just Yeah, I mean the pound's down on the day where the euro's actually up, but I think the pound still has room to correct here. So um, now where to though? Okay, it's 618 is holding right now, so that comes in at 55.50. So that is support this morning, but we could very easily break through that. Because if we break through that, I would assume that we're probably heading back down towards the 154 area. Okay, so 154.50, and then that would take us down to 155.50. If we break through that, it would be back down towards 154.50. Resistance for the cable is a really choppy market here on the pound. Uh, yeah. So even on the way back up, even if we bounce that far, a 618 comes in right up towards this resistance. So 156.40 is going to offer really good resistance. It's very choppy. That's if we can even get up there. All right, let's take a look at the Swissy. So the Swissy is getting a little bit of bounce now that it got hit. The dollar Swiss got hit overnight. If you guys are tuning in a little bit late, it's unfortunate. I knew it yesterday when I was looking at this move. I was thinking, man, I should be taking profits up here, and I didn't. So I turned 120 pip profit into, right now I'm sitting on 42 pips. So it came off pretty good from that 618. We came within just pips of that 618 and we pulled back. I still think it's bullish. You want to be a buyer on dips. Now, I think there is a possibility that we dip down towards 96 cents. So that is going to be really good support down through here. You can see it, a lot of horizontal support. You have trend line support that comes through here. So any dip down towards 96 cents, and that is going to be a place that I think that you'd want to be long the Swissy. Okay, I just don't know if we're going to get down there, but if we do, 96 cents should offer really good support. That'll be near my break-even point on this pair, because my cost average is below 96 cents, just below it. Now, resistance. You think like people like me, if I wanted to get out, which I don't, but if I did, I'd be happy if it rallied back towards, towards some of these hourly spike highs. You can see that volatility post Swiss National Bank move news. So if we got back up towards 96.75, I think people that are holding the dollar Swiss long would be happy to get out. Like I said, I'm not in that camp. I actually want to stay short the Swiss franc, but if people were late to the ball game or they were buying up here, yesterday, thinking this is breaking out and we were going to break this 618 and they ended up holding it, they're probably going to be really happy on any move back up here because that was resistance before. You can see those hourly spike highs up there. That comes in around 76.75. 96.75. I'm sorry. And we're still bullish. It's just it's coming down, and as long as we're holding some of these trend lines, as long as we're holding above 95.40, that's the big breakout point. I think it's still bullish. It's just coming off of those uh, um, it's just coming off some of those levels. Kimmy, you must be late. She says the Swiss rallied on the Swiss National Bank news from earlier this morning. I know the Swiss National Bank lost $51 billion for the first half of the year. A lot of that was due to the intervention efforts that the Swiss National Bank had to do to support the Euro Swiss, during the Greek situation. And that alone shows you how much inflows was coming into the Swiss franc, where the Swiss National Bank would have to buy euros and sell Swiss. They really, really propped up the Euro Swiss through the whole Greek thing. But again, a lot of people like myself, I sit there and go, well, why is the Swiss franc actually stronger following the news? You would think that the Swiss franc would actually be weaker, but little end of month adjustments, I think. All right, let's go over to the wait, hold on. Let me make sure I put it in. Yeah. Okay, let's go over to the dollar yen. So the dollar yen looks pretty stout. We stopped yesterday at the 124.50 level. So here's our hourly chart. We drew this from here. We said, hey, if we get a dip down to 123.80, right? That'd be a nice long. That we drew that yesterday, and we dipped pretty close. I mean, we came to 123.90. All right. Now, I'm not in any yen pairs. Actually, I take that back. I'm short the Swiss yen, or I'm short the Swiss yen, but I'm not like short the dollar yen, not short the euro yen, or I'm not short the Aussie yen. I'm not trading any yen pairs at the moment. I should be short the Aussie yen, but that's another story. I'm not. The dollar yen is once again, struggling into this resistance, but you have to keep in mind if we break 124.60, this thing is going to launch. Okay. If we break 124.60. Now, what would be really interesting is to see that happen as stocks come down. I don't know that if that's going to happen, but that would tell you there's unbelievable dollar strength should that happen. So 124.60 is pretty major resistance. Okay. We're still in a range, but this dollar yen, is very resilient despite the stock market weakness. Like I said, stocks are looking a little peaky this morning. They look like they're rolling over a bit, and even as they roll over a little bit, the yen is still weak, which, like I said, that to me is very, very surprising. Okay, now support for the dollar yen. This blue line that we drew yesterday, obviously we stopped shy of it, but if we get back down towards it, which will be 124, we should be pretty well supported. If we break it, it's a different story. 124, okay, is support. Let's go over to the Canadian. So we have Canadian GDP. I did get out of my US dollar Canadian long. Took a really, really nice profit on it yesterday. Bought at 128.90, sold it yesterday at 128 or 130.33, 36, somewhere around here. I was hoping for a dip. I have a buy order, which, excuse me, I'm going to cancel it right now. I had a buy order to buy it back down here. Didn't get it. Okay. This Canadian, see this blue line? It's big. You know why it's big? Because if we break it, we're going to highs. So if we break highs today, which will be 130.60, we're going to 131. So resistance, 1.3060, 1.31. Okay. So we're going back to 131. If we break that, and then we're quite possibly going to break out. I personally don't have any dollar Canadian longs right now, and I'm going to be very upset if we go cruising through 131 and I'm not long. But I'm not going to take a position before Canadian GDP. I think Canadian GDP will come in on the weak side, but that doesn't, just because I believe that it's actually going to go higher today, doesn't mean that that's the right decision for me to go long ahead of news. Just because I have a hunch that it's going to go higher, or I feel that, the Canadian data has been weakening enough to where it's going to start affecting GDP. I still, in which I do feel that way, doesn't constitute me taking a gamble on being long the dollar Canadian ahead of Canadian news. Okay. Now, if the Canadian GDP comes in flat as expected, I think as expected is flat. Let me double check that. Let me make sure I'm not off base here. Yeah. If Canadian GDP comes in flat, we actually might see a pullback, and any pullback now to 129.60 is going to be supported. So still very bullish here. Okay, let's go over to the Kiwi. We actually have time for the Kiwi dollar today before we go on break. So here's the Kiwi. Kiwi is weak. Weak, sister. My God. I mean, look at how weak the New Zealand is. I mean, like I said, it had a lot of people convinced. I was convinced that we were up for a squeeze, even though I was not long the New Zealand dollar. I was still pretty convinced this week right here that we were going to go into squeeze mode. I thought, all right, here goes the Kiwi. We're going to squeeze at least to 68 cents, maybe up to 70. And, then I was going to be able to short the Kiwi on rallies up there. If somebody like me who is bearish the Kiwi, so think about this. You guys know how bearish the New Zealand I've been for so many years. If somebody like me that has been very bearish the Kiwi was convinced earlier this week that we were going to start squeezing higher, if I felt that way, how did people that, now think about the average retail investor. Think about how many retail investors have been sitting around waiting for the Kiwi to bottom to start going long. Think about that. I mean, if that convinced me, who's bearish, that, all right, we're going to start squeezing, how many people actually got long down here? And right now, the Kiwi has completely done an about face and is slipping through every piece of support, 786 retracement right now, and it looks extremely bearish. So think about how many people got sucked. Because now here I am, bearish the Kiwi, looking at it going, oh crap, I'm not even short right now. How am I not short? And then you've got people that are long going, oh my God, I got suckered into this on the long side. So I am looking to short it. Then you've got traders that are long that are looking to get out. That could very, very easily carry us to brand new lows. All right, so this 65-cent level is going to be very important for the Kiwi. 0.6500 mega support for the Kiwi dollar. Okay. Now, any rally up to 66 cents and people are going to go, thank God I can get out. Any rally now back up to 66 cents and people are going to be, and this thing has turned back to bearish. We went to a range for a few days, but yeah, this thing is bearish. Straight up. Okay? All right, guys. When I come back, we're going to do the Aussie. We'll do the dollar index. Did the peso turn? I wasn't sure if the peso turned. The peso looked like it was going to turn. Oh, it did. Peso is actually still turning. We have to keep an eye on this Norwegian krona, Swedish krona, all those. I mean, all right. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a few moments. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. We're going to go ahead and wrap up our analysis of the majors here. We've still got to do the Aussie, do the dollar index, and we'll take a look at some of these other crosses. We'll look at the Norwegian krona, the Swedish krona, things like that, because right now, let's, we also got to take a look at the peso, because the peso was showing some signs of reversal yesterday. So, all right, let's go over to the Aussie. So, Aussie dollar. Okay. So here's the Aussie, and let's make sure that this number is right on. So because we're at really key support here. Oops, we have to even go out to a weekly chart on my charts. Okay. So the low, all right, the low here is 80.71. We have 80, looks like 80.65. Okay. Okay, I have that magnetized to the price, so to the end of the wick. The high here. $110.79. Okay, so that puts us currently the 127% extension. We're below it. That came in at 72.45, and we're below it right now. Okay, now obviously here's the 618. This 618 now that's actually going to be from the very low I have to get right on the right price, which I'm not. Going to the way back. I mean, okay, there we go. That low. Oh, shit. Shoot. Sorry. Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. Make sure I got that number right then. Doing this over again. My bad. Looks like there was actually a lower low here. Over here, but I'm going from the last low that we posted. Going all the way back here. I grab that again. All right. Okay. So that 618 comes in at, or that 786 comes in at 71. Okay, and then we have to find this 618 right here. Make sure I'm on the right number here. That low, just double checking. Because the Aussies on such key support, we got to make sure that these numbers are all okay. All right, now let's go over to daily. 7207, so basically 72 cents, right? So yesterday we were here. So hey, a rally up towards 73 and change would be a good short. And by golly, did it. I mean, look at how well that wedge played out. Okay, that means this upper trend line is shows you how important that upper trend line is. But now that we've cleared this support, 72.60 and then 73 cents. 72 cents is the next support. So it's like 72.10, 72.07, but I'm just going to write down 72, pretty major support. And we have 72.60, and then 0.73 is major resistance. Okay, and we are bearish. All right, let's go over to the dollar index. Okay, so here's the dollar index. Obviously 98.15 is a resistance. That's the obvious. Support 2 days ago, the highs there, but actually 3 days ago, that spike high came in at 96.96, so basically 97. So 97 should offer some support on the way back down. We are still in a range. Okay, and let's go over and take a look at the peso, because the peso gave us a really big reversal candle yesterday, and it looks like it's still working out. Okay, big reversal at 161% extension on 2 accounts. So on the last range, or the channel range, 161% extension. On the weekly chart, high to low, 161% extension. Big reversal there on the dollar Canadian, or dollar peso. And so you got to watch the peso, especially if we break through the lows from this week, which will be at 16.16. Okay, that's important support. If that breaks, the peso's gonna probably start to whip back pretty strongly. So 16.16 for those of you guys and gals that can trade it. It's big support. If that breaks, you're going to have a really nice weekly reversal candle. So it looks already pretty. It already looks pretty good for the peso, but if we break this week's lows, it's going to look really nice. Okay, and that's think about any other. For a lot of you Europeans, you can trade the peso. So, against a lot of different crosses too. So whether you're doing like the Euro MXN or the MXN JPY, those are all considerations. Just the US dollar, if you don't want to fade the US dollar, that's obviously, the big consideration here with the peso. But that news yesterday about the bond sales, I'd have to go back and reread the article. That's what actually turned the peso yesterday. Resistance for the peso is now at 16.30. And we went from, we've gone from being very bullish to, in my opinion, it's into a range, because what probably will happen here is if we break through these lows, we're going right back into the channel. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the Norwegian krona. Now, at the Norwegian krona, obviously we're heading into some pretty major resistance. Keep in mind that with crude oil as weak as it is, this is very much at risk. And if we break 827, and that's the high over here, right? 826.92, yeah, 827. I mean, we could easily see these highs. That could come real quick. Okay. U.S. dollar, Norwegian krona, resistance 8.2700, very important resistance. And think about how resilient the Norwegian krona, the U.S. dollar has been against the Norwegian krona. How weak the Norwegian krona has been. Support is at once again 808 or 809. So low there, 808.50, so basically 809. And I still think this one's very, very bullish. The price action looks extremely bullish in the Norwegian krona. It looks like it wants to take out those highs. And until proven otherwise, it looks bullish. Same with the Swedish krona. This is more of a range, but if we break 867, which I know we're struggling to, it's actually been a really good short every time we get up there. Not that I'm shorting it, I'm just saying that every time it gets up there, it backs away. But man, if it breaks 867, this thing's gone. 8.6700. Oh, oops. I did it the other way around. Hold on. Cut. All right, forget it. 8.27. I'm trying to do shortcuts and it's not working. 8.090. Okay, and the Swedish krona support is, once again, 850. Okay. Now this is range, but you're looking to turn bullish. Okay. All right. So there's your there is your bias chart. Let's go into some questions. Okay, going way back here.